Hi, welcome to 32, Quarantiki number 32.
Dana.
Wow, that's, hi Dana, hi David, pre-Thanksgiving edition. Like most of you, we have plans for Thanksgiving that we do every year, and those plans aren't happening this year. We usually get together with 20 to 30 of our closest friends and semi-family and throw a great big multi-day feast. And we come in from all different states and around the country, occasionally outside the country, and have a great old time eating, drinking, and playing board games mostly, and catching up on what's going on in each other's lives. This year, it'll be 4 of us, and hopefully a Zoom call to link up with people. But so the reason I bring this up is because evidently a tradition was started several years back. My wife and I showed up for Thanksgiving, made an immediate trip out to the booze store because, well, it's us. And from that point on, I've been sort of in charge of making cocktails for the Thanksgiving weekend. And, well, as long as the wondrous hostess is doing all of the duties of hostessing and cooking and just being the general wonderful person that she is, hi Holly, there should be a cocktail that she really enjoys at Thanksgiving. And it turns out, one of her favorite cocktails is one of my favorite cocktails, and that's the Sazerac. So what are we going to do? I don't know that the Sazerac is necessarily festive or holiday-ish, but it seems to be that way now in our various households. So as a consequence, we are going to be doing the Sazerac this evening. Now, for ease of travel when doing Sazeracs, I usually use simple syrup, even though the classic recipe calls for sugar cubes. But I've never actually made a Sazerac in the true classic method, which uses a sugar cube, and you crunch up the sugar cube in the Peychaud's bitters, and it's a thing. So we're actually going to try that this evening. We're going to do that as an option for us. So how do we do a Sazerac? Well, Sazerac is a fundamentally easy drink to do. But there's some subtlety to it, and it uses not rum, but in fact one of my other favorite spirits, which is rye. And for this rye, as long as we're, normally when we roll into town, we check out what ryes Holly's got, and if she doesn't have any, we go buy some. But since we're at home this year, we're going to go use a local rum, and this is an older bottle. They've changed up their bottling structure. This is Filibuster. So this is a local distillery, and Filibuster, haha, cute name. And this is their rye whiskey. 45% alcohol by volume, and I don't have a mash bill on here, so I can tell you it is 51% or more rye, but I cannot tell you how much more rye than that. I would have to look it up.
So Elisa is drinking an Irish Mule with the last of her Jamesons.
Irish Mule, fine, that'll work.
She wanted to know, sugar cubes still exist?
Sugar cubes do still exist. They usually come in like boxes, and they say it's usually Domino brand, I think is the only one I've ever seen. And sure enough, you get a box of these little tiny white cubes, and ta-da, there's a white cube of sugar. I will deviate slightly from the usual pattern of making the Sazerac, because traditionally it is made in and served in a 2 rocks glasses. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make mine in a mixing pint, and then I'm going to pour it into a rocks glass, because it's a mixing pint, and it says Angel's Envy on it, and that's cool. So I'm going to do that. But before I do that, I think it is important that we have our weekly toast. So for our weekly toast, we are also going to go to another local distillery, because I'm keeping with this theme of, darn it, even though we can't travel and see our friends for Thanksgiving, there are things to be thankful for. And okay, to put it mildly, I am thankful for the fact that there are quite a few really nice distilleries that are local to us, and a number of really nice liquor stores that are local to us that keep us well supplied, for an appropriate fee, of course.
Right.
Yep. So what we are going to be drinking this evening as our toasting is the Cotton and Reed 10-year anniversary sherry cask strength rum. Sherried cask strength rum. This is going to be a little on the warm side because it's 51% alcohol. So that is 102 proof. So that's going to be potent. But we need it to get over the shock of not having our family and friends present. Except that we have at least friends, if not people we consider family, to be present on this call. So here's to you. Hopefully you're going to have a wonderful Thanksgiving as well. Thank you for tuning in. And?
This is your hint.
Oh, all right. So 17 years ago yesterday, my not yet wife at that point.
This one.
Right, we did this one. November 11th, November 21st.
2003.
We're not that old. Rather than get married, we did the all but married thing. So we did all of the paperwork you could possibly do, all of the various
Wills,
powers,
power of attorney,
blah, 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 blah. Domestic partnership, did we do?
No,
that was later?
That was
okay,
later.
All right. So we did basically all of the legal paperwork shy of getting married. So that's been 17 years that we have been all but married, except it's not 17 years now because it's only 13 years because for almost 4 years of that, we've actually been married. So multiple things to be thankful for. Here's to us. Here's to you. Here's to Cotton and Reed and Filibuster and Mount Defiance and all of those other friendly folk that are close by. Oh, the sherry definitely comes through on that. Yeah, there is definite sweetness on the end of that. Move the smoke out of the way.
So it says Star and Pooch, and it's got all of our important dates on it.
And so now that Star has shared important security information with the rest of the world, here we go. Don't fall for those tricks, except when you do it voluntarily. Right. All right, so how do we do a Sazerac? So Sazerac is a fundamentally simple cocktail. You're going to drop a single sugar cube into your glass, and then you're going to hit that.
Oh, wait, we have other drink reports.
Whoa, other drink reports. Whoa, stop. Hold on. Not going to make the Sazerac yet.
It's having a New England whiskey sour
using
maple syrup, ruby red grapefruit, and blue corn bourbon whiskey.
Oh, that sounds delightful. So we've got maple syrup, corn whiskey, and grapefruit.
Ruby red grapefruit.
To do a sour. I might go with white grapefruit, but otherwise that sounds delightful. Yeah. So white sugar cube. There is bitters go in next, and for the Sazerac, they are specific about the bitters. I've seen a couple of recipes that go, oh, we're not going to use Peychaud's. We're going to swap out this. Peychaud's bitters or Peychaud's bitters are the key to a good Sazerac, and you're going to go 3-4 dashes of this depending upon your flavor profile. I usually amp up the Peychaud's a little bit for Holly, so we're going to do that. We're going to go 4 dashes of the Peychaud's. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. So we have a sugar cube and some Peychaud's bitters. That's it. Okay, we should probably add the rye to this. So the rye, 2 ounces of rye. What I'm going to do here, though, is I am going to crush up our sugar cube here. And you can use, so often bar spoons will have like a flat edge on the back of them. So here's your bar spoon, and the other edge will often have just a flat backing on it. Mine do not. I have like a Cthulhu one and a skull one, and well, I do have one that's sort of flat that has the Angel's Envy wings on it. I could use that. But what I'm going to use is an actual muddler in this case. I have a muddler that has the the rough edge on this side and a flat edge on that side. I'm going to go ahead and use the flat edge, and we're going to break up the sugar cube a little bit. And I am told that what you want to do is break this down to sort of a fine grain, but you're not attempting to like stir it and get it to all dissolve in there. You're going to have to wait on the rye to help you with that. So there you go. There's your base. You have ground up sugar and a bunch of peychaud's, and you're going to go 2 ounces of rye. One of my favorite ryes for this is Rittenhouse, but I'm currently out of Rittenhouse, so we are going to use the local filibuster. All right, so there you go. We're going to throw some ice in here, a few cubes to get this cold. Pick that up. In we go. Now, you might be saying, hey, Pooch, there's not a whole lot of sweetness or anything else in that. That's going to be a pretty stiff drink. Yeah, you're right. This is a booze-forward drink, absolutely. Key component of this, next to using peychaud's, is the uh-oh, where'd it go? Oh no, I stashed it up here. There it is. Easy enough. The glass that you're going to serve this in is classically rinsed with absinthe. So what you're going to do is you're just going to pour a little bit of absinthe into the glass, and then you're going to twirl that glass. You want the absinthe sort of right up to the edge on that. There you go. Let that sit to the side. You're saying, Pooch, Pooch, your Sazerac is watering down. No, it'll be fine. Trust me on this. At least it's always fine with the simple syrup. We'll find out how it is with the sugar cube. Now, the Sazerac is supposed to be really pretty cold, as are most of your cocktails. So, as a consequence, we're going to stir this a bit, and I'm not worried about the fact that I had ice sitting in here and diluting a little, because, well, it needs that. And it needs some time to sit with the sugar and try and get that all absorbed. All right. This is loosening up in the glass nicely, getting kind of cold. I don't have any frost forming on the outside of the glass. If you have a really thick glass mixing tin, you're really not going to see frost form unless you've got a bunch of ice and some liquid in there. But, oh, there's a little bit of frost forming. That's what I'm looking for. All right, so then we go and we do a taste. And for something like the Sazerac, where these proportions are really important, it's very important to go ahead and taste and make sure you've got the dilution right. And I think that is just fine in terms of dilution. The rule for the rinse is to pour out the remainder of the absinthe. Never pour it into the sink. Never pour good absinthe into the sink. Always pour it into something where you can drink it later. Because why not, right? By the way, in case you haven't guessed, I'm using Mount Defiance absinthe, which is a local distiller, and we love them. They do really, really good absinthe, and as a consequence, we like using them. Classic garnish for the Sazerac. So here's your Sazerac in that beautiful reddish brown color that is classic to rye with some peychaud's in it. And the classic garnish for this is lemon peel. And I have been told that to do this properly, you express from up here and let the oils fall in rather than do it closer. Supposedly, bitter oils get off the rind and get into the drink. I don't know if I necessarily believe that. We're going to run the lemon rind around there and just drop it in the glass. And there you go. This is your classic Sazerac. Happy holidays to Miss Holly Wilper in Champaign-Urbana.
Yeah. I'm going to have a sip, and he's going to get the drink this time. Because it's a Sazerac.
Because it is a Sazerac.
Which I really want to like more than I do.
Yep, but that's okay, because this way I've got a cocktail. So I think that I actually prefer it with the simple syrup.
Syrup.
I know that some classic Sazerac recipes actually call for 2 sugar cubes if you happen to have a sweet tooth. And that may be the case, that there's just not enough sweetness here. I can't imagine 2 cubes. I think that would be just overkill. But I definitely use a little more sweetness in my Sazeracs when I generally make them. So I could do that and make another Sazerac. But this will be perfectly fine for me. The other interesting fact about the Sazerac is because there's a little bit of that granulated sugar that stays in the bottom of the glass. It comes out of here and goes into that glass. The drink is supposed to get sweeter as you drink it. So as you get down to the very bottom, it might finally be something that my wife could drink. So, we'll see. But what I wanted to do is a holiday variation on the Sazerac that twists up just a little bit. And so I'm going to dump this out, or have my wife dump this out while I put together some ingredients for that. Because I want to rinse that out before we get going here. All right. So once again, we're going to serve this in a rocks glass. I'm going to take a sip of this. All right, so we're going to do the same thing, fundamentally the same cocktail. I am going to amp up the sweetness a little bit, just in the hopes that my wife can drink this. We're going to go with 2 sugar cubes. 1, 2, 3, 4 dashes of the Peychaud's bitters. We are going to crunch that up with this guy. Some of these sugar cubes are a little bulkier than others. Bulkier, denser, harder to crack. There we go. And there are 2 of them and the same amount of Peychaud's, so that doesn't surprise me. That's maybe a little harder to get through. All right, we need 2 ounces of our filibuster. And I am going to be short on this, and that's actually sort of intentional. I'm going to kill this. There you go. That is right about 1.5 ounces of rye. And I am a fan of the combination of rye and rum. So we're going to go and use our, we're going to go there and then finish up. Now we're at 1 3/4. 2 ounces total alcohol, split almost 2 to 1 between rye and rum. All right, okay, but you said you were going to make sort of a holiday themed cocktail. So how are you going to do that? So normally absinthe goes in here, right? And we do a rinse of absinthe. Right? You just saw that. We're not going to do that this time. This time we are also reaching for another product from Cotton and Reed. We're reaching for their allspice dram. Now, allspice dram, if you have not had allspice dram, go out, get yourself a bottle of, pardon me. Get yourself a bottle of allspice dram. It's relatively low in alcohol, so this is a liqueur. Cotton and Reed's allspice dram is 24% alcohol. This stuff is like Christmas in a glass. All of those classic Christmas baking spices, that sort of thing, are all right in there. It's a deep, dark brown liquor. I'm going to spill just a little bit of that. That's unfortunate. And then that's going to go right in there. All right, so now I've got my glass rinsed. I'm going to throw some ice in here. And again, we are going to stir. Somewhere around here I have, here we go. Got the lid. It's over here. So far it's a Cotton and Reed Thanksgiving occasion. Oh, I need a Sazerac, don't I? So I could lapse into some sort of history about the Sazerac. Sazerac is one of the oldest known cocktails to exist, mid-1800s. Presumably created at the Sazerac house in New Orleans. One of its signature ingredients is, of course, Peychaud's bitters, which was created at a pharmacy in the French Quarter in New Orleans. Yep, little frost on there. Looks good. Little crunchy bits at the bottom. All right. I want to do this another little spin here. This is not quite as thick as the absinthe. So there we go. And where's my julep strainer? Here's my julep strainer. And that goes in here. By the way, Alton, that's how you use a julep strainer. Someday I'll forgive you. Lemon. And we're going to express that there. Run that just a little in and out. Drop that in there. I'm going to give it that a taste. You want me to taste it? Are you scared?
No.
All right. Good. Cheers. Sazeracs.
Oh, that smells yummy.
Yeah, it's the allspice jam. It smells amazing.
Got Brooke on that.
Brooke! Making a Copper Fox Rye Sazerac here. Smoky rye. Sounds like a plan. That works just fine since we've been throwing together Sazeracs. What do you think?
Yeah.
Do I get a taste?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Oh, that's so delightful. Oh yeah, I could drink that. Well, yeah. You okay with that one?
I'll drink part of it, and then you'll probably end up with part of it.
I see. Okay.
I like it, but not the best.
It's got the there's that sugary baking spice note at the back end, like cinnamon sugar coming in on the back end of that. That's a very different depth to it than the typical Sazerac with the absinthe back end. Like them both. Here's the classic Sazerac. That star over there is my Thanksgiving Sazerac. So we'll see about having a couple of those in the next couple of days. But it is Thanksgiving time, so there should be other Thanksgiving cocktails. So I thought to myself, I believe I've seen the word cranberry mentioned in at least one of the many, many tiki books that I have lying around. As it turns out, I was right. I saw it in one of my books. I hopped online and checked out my Total Tiki app by Jeff Beachbum-Berry to see if there were any cocktails that had cranberry in them. And out of the entire canon that is listed in his app, which is like some ungodly number of cocktails, there were two, mind you, that required cranberry juice. One of them is a monstrosity that was created in 1992 by an extremely famous bartender whose last name is Esimo, if I remember right, E-S-I-M-O. There's an entire chapter in, I think, Potions of the Caribbean that is devoted to this man and his contributions to tiki cocktails and tiki culture in general, and partially to Jeff's career. But this drink, now I sometimes joke about tiki drinks having like a dozen ingredients in it. I believe I counted the number of ingredients in this cocktail at 16. I'm not doing that cocktail this evening because it would take up the entire time. I'd have to empty portions on my refrigerator to find wherever that bottle of X is that I have back there. So we're not going to do that one. We're going to do the other drink that appears in Total Tiki. But I will point out that the book that I saw cranberry listed in is what is sort of the modern tikeists or the tiki revivalists Bible, which is Smuggler's Cove by Martin and Rebecca Kate. And way back in page 219, he talks about the palette of the various individuals that were crucial to starting up tiki. And so he starts with Don the Beachcomber's palette, and he splits it out: sour or citrus, tropical fruits and juices, sweet components, spirits, liqueurs, spices and bitters, and then sort of other ingredients, like soda water. And notes that there is no cranberry mentioned anywhere on Don's 1930s palette. Vic Bergeron, Trader Vic, comes along in the 1940s and adds to this palette and adds a few things to it. And one of the things that he adds under sour and citrus is, in fact, cranberry juice. I'm like, okay, well, that makes sense, because cranberry, absent the usual large quantities of sugar that you find in American supermarkets, cranberry is really tart and really sour. So it would make a good soury citrus component, even though it's not actual citrus. And then cranberry doesn't really appear anywhere else other than a cranberry syrup, which there's a side note here that making a cranberry syrup is just like making any other syrup. You know, you crush up your little berries or whatever and soak them in water or a sugar syrup mix and then make a syrup out of it, and you're all fine and dandy. But it notes that often this was just simply substituted with grenadine. So I'm like, oh, well, I mean, that makes sense. Cranberries are tart, pomegranates are tart, so the syrups should be relatively comparable to one another, which of course led me down the road of, well, I don't have to see the word cranberry or cranberry syrup in a cocktail recipe. If I see grenadine, I could just replace it with cranberry syrup. That might be a cool thing to do. But I simply ran out of time to do that, so I'm going to do the other cranberry recipe that I found. But that's it. Those are the only references I found to cranberry. And there's not even a drink in Smuggler's Cove that actually uses them. They just note that they were part of Vic's addition to the cocktail, the tiki cocktail ingredient pantheon. So there we go. So I didn't find any in the various Beach Bum Berries books that I have. I didn't find any in Shannon Mustafar's book. I didn't find any in Matt Petrick's Minimalist Tiki book. By the way, Matt and his good wife have released their 3rd edition. I know, it looks exactly like the 1st edition, but it's not. It's updated with new material, presumably less typos, according to Matt. And what they've done is, instead of just repeat the cocktails, particularly the classic cocktail recipes that were in here originally, they've done riffs on all those classic cocktail recipes. So this is a new arrival to me, and I haven't had a chance to really peruse all of the differences yet. But you might expect that at some point we're going to go back through and do all the variations on the classic tiki drinks, since we did all of the classic tiki drinks from his 1st edition book. By the way, yeah, it's signed. Yay! Thank you, Matt. Yay! So that's kind of cool. All right. So what is the drink that we are going to do that is cranberry based? So this is a drink that was featured at the Eye of the Needle restaurant at the top of the Space Needle in Seattle. And it was originally debuted in, check my notes, 1962 for the World Fair held in Seattle. So this is called, appropriately enough for a drink that is at the top of the Space Needle, the Panorama Punch. Because, you know, why not, right? Okay, it's nice panorama. By the way, this is coming out of the Total Tiki app from Beach Bum Berry. Go ahead, download it. It's awesome. Access to tons of different recipes, recipe ingredients, and all that sort of thing. Really nice resource to have.
You can select by ingredients.
You can select by, well, you put in all of your ingredients, and it'll tell you, of those, with all those ingredients, here is the list of cocktails that you can make, and then you can search over that. You can also search the rest of the recipes and find, oh, I really want to make this. I don't have that ingredient. Let me add that ingredient, and suddenly I can make 40 more recipes. How cool is that? Yeah, so I really like that. It's a very nice resource, especially to have in your hand as you're wandering around, because, you know, while I might take a small travel cocktail kit with me, I'm not carrying 3 or 4 tiki cocktail books with me. So having the Total Tiki app is a godsend for having immediate access to that. So what is in this cocktail? So the Panorama Punch, and we're going to have to scale this sucker back because it is intended for multiple people. So lime juice, cranberry juice, orange juice, light rum, simple syrup. That's it. That's all that's in there. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ingredients. So it's not that bad. But we've got like 4.5 ounces of light rum in here. We're not going to do that tonight because, well, you know, that's enough for probably 3 of us to be having cocktails. So we're going to scale this back by at least half. At least that's my plan. I haven't marked out what the measurements are, so we're going to see if I can do this. If I cannot easily divide, so like I don't really have anything that's easily marked in 1/8 of an ounce, so I'll probably just round up in those cases, especially if it's erring on the side of rounding up in terms of the cranberry juice, because we really want to feature the cranberry juice tonight. So this drink is blended, so we need a blender tin here. One wearing blender tin right there. Normally 1 ounce of lime juice, so we're going to go 1/2 ounce of lime juice. Let's see, that still has allspice dram in it, so we don't want to do that. That'd be bad. I don't think allspice dram and cranberry? I don't know. If I had been a little more on the ball today, I might have tried to do something that plays up, the traditional, when people say cranberry in a cocktail, they think Cosmo. And I might have tried to play that up some with maybe a really light rum agricole in place of the vodka or something along those lines. But yeah, that didn't happen. So we're not going to play off of the Cosmo because I don't want to. How's that? All right.
And what were you doing today? Does it have anything to do with your color scheme?
Fine. All right. Last few Sundays, Pooch has been really happy because his beloved Miami Dolphins were on a 5-game winning streak. So I felt pretty good coming into today, going up against the Denver Broncos, who have 3 wins to their name. Well, they now have 4 wins to their name. They managed to beat my Dolphins by a touchdown and made the team look really, really bad. So while I'm wearing my Dolphins colors, because, you got to be a fan, even if you're a fan, you be a fan even in the bad times. But I am covering it up with a drink apron because, I got to hang my head in shame a little bit because, wow, that was a disgraceful performance, guys. I think you could have done better. Pretty sure we beat ourselves more than Denver coming out and smacking us around. But, you got to stop the run. And nobody on this freaking call probably cares about football. So I'm going to skip right along and continue on making this cocktail because, all right, I'm wearing Dolphins colors. Yay, Dolphins. Love you. You had a really sucky week. Enough of that. Let's make a drink because I do have a question. There's a question?
Yeah.
Where's the question?
Can you see it on the screen?
There is text. A question from the novice. There's probably more than one novice.
Our new shaker set has a rattler in the large cup. What's the purpose?
Oh, a rattler like a little metal ball or something that goes in there. So if you want something that really requires a lot of aeration, and this would be typically drinks that you're going to do a foam with. So if you have like an egg white foam, so you're going to do a sour, you want the egg white to be all whippy and frothy, and that if you drop the little ball in there and shake up with that, you're going to get a little more aeration with that cocktail, so you'll get a bigger foam from the drink. I will say I don't believe I have ever seen a professional bartender use the little rattler thing in a cocktail. I don't think so. I can check with my buddies, with my friends, and see if anybody knows, of this. But if you're using big rocks, if you're using big rocks in your glass, and you've got that little rattler in there, those rocks are heavy. You may beat the living daylights out of your poor little rattler there. So there you go.
Oh, no. The bottom of the cup has a noisemaker in it.
As a... yeah. I have no clue because you should be making enough noise by throwing the ice around in there. I have no idea what that's about. And yes, my Northwestern Wildcats, beloved alma mater of myself and my wife, yeah, we went out and beat Wisconsin yesterday. We were ranked 19th in the country. They were ranked 10th. We beat them. We beat them well. And now the new poll has Northwestern out at number 11. So that's not so bad. So take my good and take my bad this weekend for football. College football, yay. Professional football, boo. Let's drink, right? Okay, yeah. 2 1/4 ounces of cranberry, which would normally be 1 1/8. So I'm going to go 1 and something slightly less than 1/4. All right. So let's go. Here's cranberry juice. And this is, I did not squeeze my own cranberries. No. God, that sounds really disgusting, doesn't it? This is, in fact, store-bought cranberry juice, but it is store-bought cranberry juice that has no sugar added. The only ingredient in here is cranberry juice. So this sucker should be tart. All right. Orange juice. It says 2.5 ounces of orange juice. So we're going to go, excuse me, it says 4.5 ounces of orange juice. So we're going to go 2.25 ounces of orange juice. Here is some orange juice. Need 1/4 ounce. There's 1/4 ounce. And then 2 ounces. Four and a half ounces of light rum. All right, well, what are we going to do for light rum? Well, you know, it's really hard for me to get away from what seems to be my now standard light rum, which is the Plantation 3-Star. I've gone through a variety of different other light rums through the time that I've been throwing stuff together behind the bar, but I keep coming back to this Plantation 3-Star. It's really good. It's relatively available. It's really available. It's not going to break the bank, so you can use it on a daily basis if you want. I'm not going to tell you that you know, it makes as good a cocktail as, say, you know, a light actual Cuban rum, but my pourer is not working. That's interesting. We are having a bit of trouble getting Cuban rum in this country because, well, yeah, embargo and all that stuff. So absent that, I'd rather use something that I know I can get on a regular basis than use up the last of my really good Cuban rum. All right, so there we go. We've got lime, cranberry, orange, light rum, and now we need some sugar syrup, and that says 3/4 ounce. We're going to cut that in half. Which there's no other way for me to do this. I'm just going to have to eyeball that. There we go. So now the general rule when making cocktails, I know you've seen everybody, all the professional bartenders are doing the free pours. They're counting, you know, so they open they upend the bottle, you know, and you can almost see them sometimes doing 1 count, 2 count, 3 count, and then flip it back. All these techniques for the speed pour to get it just right and make sure that they're consistent on the exact amount of alcohol or other ingredient that they're putting in there. Nobody is as good as an accurate measurement. And I know I'm blowing that this time by not actually measuring these as accurately as I could, but I'm trying to adapt a recipe on the fly. So we'll deal with that. They're close, and this will tell me whether or not I actually want to make this cocktail again. Wow, that is kind of the color of tomato juice. I'm not a big fan of tomato juice, so that's a little off-putting to me, but we'll see how this works out with some ice in it. It calls for 8 ounces of ice. We're going to go with, obviously, 4 ounces of ice in this case. And it does say crushed, and 4 ounces is roughly half a scoop here. So that goes in there. And I did say it was blended. It says blend for 10 seconds, so here we go. "10 seconds, clean off your spindle." It's always polite to clean your spindle. And then this is going to go in a tall glass. Oh, it's all frothy. That seems good. That's kind of pretty. We are going to decorate this with an orange slice, like right there. Pour a little more in here. I think that that just seems like there is not enough ice in that cocktail. That blending pretty well obliterated the ice that was there. I think it just feels to me like this needs a little more ice. And since I'm playing around with measurements, we're going to go ahead and do that. That looks a little better to me in terms of dilution. I am working off memory from a picture I saw, and that looks a little closer to the right coloration for that cocktail. So there you go. That is the Panorama Punch, which we're going to have to stick a straw in that. I know I got them. Where's the straw? This will work. We'll just do a big green one here. Stick that in there. Wow, that's an enormous straw for that drink, for that glass. Here, ma'am, you can give that a try and tell me what you think. I'll hold that so it doesn't go anywhere. Well, apparently that's a hit. So the Panorama Punch, lime juice, cranberry juice, apple, orange juice, light rum, and sugar syrup. Right?
Try it.
Obviously I have not, but I shall. Oh, that the cranberry really comes through on that, doesn't it? That is not a flavor profile I am used to in a tiki drink.
No.
That is sure. But it's not unwelcome. It's just a little weird. It's like, wait, what is that I'm tasting? Right, that's cranberry. What is that doing there? I don't know. I think I like it. That's sort of what's going on in my head as I'm tasting that. I might even want to back off the cranberry just a hint because it really does come through pretty convincingly. I think it does call for the light rum. We use the Plantation 3-star.
It could hold up to some.
I think a little gutsier rum might go better in its place. It would be interesting to make that same exact drink, but use say like an Eldorado 8. Eldorado 5 or 8 and do something with a little more depth to it and see if that holds up. Pretty sure that the funk of a Jamaican rum would not be welcome in that cocktail, though. I think that would be, yeah, that just doesn't seem to work well. I could see an aged agricole in that. That would actually add some welcome notes, but I think it would make that a lighter, springier drink. So like late spring, maybe early spring cocktail. When the winter is sort of cold, but you can definitely tell that it's coming around to springtime. Yeah, that might work there. So there you go. So that is the Panorama Punch. So I was a little disappointed, quite frankly, because I thought Thanksgiving, surely there's going to be people out there in the tiki-verse that have thrown together cranberry cocktails. It is such a potent, tart taste that maybe that's part of what limits what is done with them. So after spending a little while online, I did come across another recipe for a cranberry cocktail. And I find it sad to admit this, but I'm going to make this drink even after being online with Matt Petrick and several other friends, acquaintances, making cocktails and talking about tiki cocktails. We jokingly were talking about the Mai Tai because we started off drinking Mai Tais that night, and jokingly said, if your Mai Tai is pink, it's wrong. Yeah, well, one of the only other recipes I found for using cranberry juice in a tiki cocktail is a cranberry Mai Tai. So I'm going to eat my own words here, and we're going to do what my guess is going to turn out to be a pink Mai Tai. We are going to call it a cranberry Mai Tai, though. We are not going to call this a Mai Tai, because it is not a Mai Tai. It is a variation on the Mai Tai. So we're going to give that a shot, because, oh wait, there's stuff left in here. Excuse me a second. Yeah, it's pretty okay. You know, maybe some allspice ram in there wouldn't be so bad. I have to think about that. All right. So, Mai Tai. We're going to make a shaken Mai Tai. So we need shaker cup. This is going to follow basically the same instructions that you normally do for making any kind of Mai Tai, for making a Mai Tai. So usually the sweet component is split evenly between orgeat and some other sweet. Usually it is a straight up simple syrup. It could be it could be spice syrup, could be cinnamon syrup, any number of other kinds of syrup. But there's always that half of that sweet ingredient is going to be orgeat. If you're like me, I really like orgeat, and I like orgeat flavor or forward Mai Tais. I tend to emphasize the orgeat just a little bit more. Instead of doing an even split, I will lean a little more into the orgeat. But we're not going to do that this time. I think almonds and cranberry is going to be a fine mixture, and I want to give the cranberry as much chance to shine in this as possible. So we are going to do just a 1/4 ounce of, yeah, that'll be fine. We're going to do a 1/4 ounce of homemade orgeat in there. Been sitting out for just a little bit and has been shaken on multiple occasions, so that should be nice and mixed up. When you keep homemade orgeat, actually if you keep even store-bought orgeats, usually you'll see them separate a little bit. That's not to worry about that. It doesn't mean that it's gone bad. It just means that you need to shake the living daylights out of it and bring that back into emulsion. So we're going to go 1/4 ounce of the homemade orgeat. Should point out that there seems to be no agreement on how to pronounce orgeat. I pronounce the T. It's O-R-G-E-A-T. I pronounce the T. I know a number of people that do not, and it's orgeat or orgeot. I don't know. But if I say to a bartender orgeat, they know what I'm talking about, so I'm going to go with that. If they want to correct me, sure, fine. I don't care. We know what we're talking about. It's the same stuff. All right. Next up is cranberry syrup, and this is the recipe calls for cranberry syrup, and that is a simple syrup that is made by adding sugar to cranberry juice. Now, I'm only going to make the one cocktail in all probability, so I didn't bother to whip up some cranberry syrup. But I do have cranberry juice, and I do have syrup. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, they amp up the amount of cranberry syrup because cranberry is tart, right? So they ask for 3/4 ounce of cranberry syrup. So what I'm going to do is go 1/2 ounce of the cranberry juice and a 1/4 ounce of syrup. So we are going to do that. So here, once again, cranberry juice. Oh, and I should point out that I couldn't do the entire Thanksgiving Quarantiki with just doing cranberry drinks. Orgeat, yes. Orgeat. I couldn't do that because, well, Holly, dear wonderful Holly that hosts Thanksgiving usually, she can't stand cranberry. So it would be kind of rude, I think, to have made an entire set of cocktails that feature nothing but cranberry when the drink of choice for most Thanksgivings is the Sazerac. So we started with the Sazerac, and then we're going to do 2 cranberry drinks. I'm not sure they're really cranberry drinks. They're drinks that have cranberry as an ingredient in them. So I'm not sure where I divide that, I set that dividing line in my head, but I do. All right, so there's essentially our sweetness. We need 3/4 ounce of lime juice. I happen to have that lime juice here. And this is just going to follow the mainline Mai Tai from this point on. So there's 3/4 lime juice. The lime juice is backed off a little bit, if I remember right. I'm going from memory, my Swiss cheese memory. I think it's a full ounce of lime juice in the typical Mai Tai. But remember, we've got cranberry juice in here, which is tart, so they're backing off the lime juice a little bit. So that makes sense to me. Curacao. So orange Curacao. The Mai Tai recipes always call for dry Curacao. So we're going to go ahead and do that. They backed off the orange flavor here. This is only a 1/4 ounce of the dry Curacao. Orange and cranberry is a classic mix, so it should be fine. The Curacao can be a little on the sweet side, so maybe that's why they're backing off on it. And then we are going to go with our preferred mix of rums for a Mai Tai. So again, nobody has a bottle of the original Wray & Nephew 17. So as a consequence, people trying to make that a similar taste to that will generally use a Jamaican rum and an aged rum alcohol. We're no different. We're going to use the Plantation Jamaica, right?
Jamaica.
One of the reps for Plantation was on the line the other night, and not on my channel, on Matt Petrick's channel, and they were talking about what is the appropriate pronunciation for that. And while I listened to that, I promptly also had a couple of drinks, so I have no idea if I'm actually saying that right. But we're going to go an ounce of this. It's 2 ounces of your rum. So 1 ounce Jamaican, and then 1 ounce of an aged rum agricole. Now, I am told that getting to that original Wray & Nephew 17, while agricole helps, there's some more pronounced hogo-ish flavors from that Wray & Nephew 17 that you might get actually closer to that original flavor profile if you mixed a Jamaican with some serious hogo with it, in with not a rum agricole, but a clarin, especially an aged clarin, which is a Haitian style of making rum, which we can talk about at some other point. So there you go. Those are the ingredients for your cranberry, sue me, Cranberry Mai Tai. So we're going to throw ice in there. Crushed ice. Yep. Yep. Lid this. There we go. See that? You can definitely tell there's frost on the outside of that container. That's a good sign. It tells me I'm probably right where I need to be in cold. We need a double rocks glass for this. In here, what do we got? We have our local tiki bar, Archipelago, Washington, D.C. There is that. We're just going to pour that right in there. Add a strainer to this. You could also have just strained this out and poured it over clean ice. That would have been perfectly acceptable as well. And in fact, it turns out I'm a little light on the ice, so we're going to go just dump that right in there. That'll work. Garnish. Well, what are we going to do for a garnish? So actually this has been sitting for a while, sadly, so the orange peel does not look as nice as it once did, but there's an orange peel and it is wrapped around a series of little cranberries. So we're going to stick that in there. I'm going to add a cocktail pick. We'll do a sword with a couple of blackberries, just because I have them around and I need to use them up and I think it'll be pretty. So we're just going to tack those guys right in there next to that. Could go with the typical lime, hollowed out lime, but I think that might be overkill in this case. We need a straw. Here's a nice straw. We're going to stick that in there. And there you go. I apparently have sold my soul because I've made now a form of a Mai Tai that is in fact pink. It looks a little bit orange under this light, but it is in fact pink. There's no getting around this. This is a pink Mai Tai. So we're going to have a taste of this. I'm not sure. I think that's a case of...
Too much lime.
You think too much lime? I think too much orgeat. I think I'm getting a little too much of the almond flavor there.
That might be.
Wow.
Needs work.
This, once again, I think maybe, I started by saying we were involved in a conversation where I was talking about there are no pink Mai Tais. Mai Tai is pink, it's wrong. This drink does nothing to dissuade me from that concept. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
No.
I mean, it's just not.
Yeah.
Mai Tais have a magic to them. Everything just seems to.
This has no magic.
This has no magic. Yeah.
It's a drink.
It's a drink. Cranberries are awesome things to garnish with, though, because one of the nice things about cranberries. So if you take like a blackberry and you drop it in, assuming you don't have like a bunch of crushed ice, right? The blackberry will just sink to the bottom of the glass, and you have to wait till you've drunk the entire glass or gotten rid of the crushed ice in order to do that. Cranberries are bog berries. You drop them in, and these suckers float. So you can always have them just bobbing to the top of a glass. Around Christmas and holidays, if you're doing champagne, you can have those guys bobbing to the top of top of your champagne flute, which is very, very pretty. Caution, they're not the softest things in the world, and as a consequence, you maybe want to stop adding cranberries to your champagne cocktails as your guests become slightly more inebriated. You really don't want your guests choking on them. That would be bad. Bad for everybody, ruins an entire evening of cocktails when somebody chokes. So don't do that. So we've made a couple of cranberry-based drinks, or cranberry tiki drinks that have cranberry in them. And my opinion seems to be, okay, it's kind of worth playing around with some. The Panorama Punch was definitely better than the Cranberry Mai Tai. And so I think I would go in a different direction. I don't think the orgeat and the cranberry is too bad of a mix together, but I think there's something else that needs time together, and maybe the Christmas spices of some allspice dram would be the way to go there. So I'll have to maybe contemplate that, although I don't have much time because Thanksgiving is right around the corner, and well, I got a turkey that I need to make, and some stuffing that I need to make, and some gravy that I need to make. And fortunately, our other friends are supplying most of the rest of the ingredients for the 4-person Thanksgiving that is going to have obscene amounts of food. But isn't that what Thanksgiving is in America? American excess on display. We got food. We're going to eat it. We're going to shove it in our fridge, and we're going to eat it for the next week because that's Thanksgiving. I hope you've had fun. I hope you'd enjoyed. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Make the absolute best of it. I know the guidelines are not to travel, and I think those are probably spot on. I know that we are abiding by them. Whatever you choose to do, be safe, be happy, and give a little thanks for all the joys that we do have in life, no matter how small those joys might be. I'm also online at Lovecraft Cocktails on Instagram, so you can catch me there. That has traditionally been pictures of cocktails that I've either made or cocktails that I am drinking at some bar. So the traffic on that is about half of what it used to be because, well, I'm not going to bars and taking pictures of these wonderful creations that professional bartenders actually make, because I am not a professional. I don't even play one on Facebook, but I hope you have fun watching me play around here at my home bar. So this is Lovecraft Cocktails. I think we're going to sign off. Thank you, Cotton and Reed. Thank you, Mount Defiance. Thank you, Filibuster. Thank you, all of the local distilleries. Thank you to our local liquor stores that keep us well supplied and well stocked. Although sometimes we have to go a little bit far afield to find what we're looking for. But thank you all. Thank you all of you for tuning in and watching us as we play around behind the bar here. And we'll see you next week after Thanksgiving. So have a good one. Have a Merry Thanksgiving.